You're listening to TehachaPod with Budge, Corey Costelloe, and Greg Garrett.
Welcome to another edition of TehachaPod. We're a little bit more of a serious note today with me, Corey Costelloe, Greg Garrett. Gentlemen, thank you again for joining us here on an episode of TehachaPod.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. And sometimes it's different circumstances, but
for sure. We started this whole podcasting journey with communication, and that's what we're doing today. Well, I'm going to communicate to our listeners what the city of Tehachapi was doing in this very uncertain times, and how we're working with the county of Kern, the state of California, the federal government, so on and so forth. So where to start? I suppose we start at
our special meeting.
Our special meeting. There you go.
Yeah, we're talking coronavirus with what's been going on. This podcast is being recorded here on the 18th of March. So I say that because the information is constantly coming out, getting updated. So if anyone hears this on a later date and says that's old information, we'll understand that, we're in a very evolving information cycle. So
I'll take it a step further. 18th of March at 2 p.m.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. The next hour.
Now and, tonight, who knows? Yeah. These times that we're living in are crazy, but we are sticking together. The city of Tehachapi, we're staying in our lane. We're helping others. We're working so well with the school district, Superintendent Stacy, the healthcare district, Adventist Health, and Jeff Lingerfeld and his crew, Kaiser Permanente. I go on and on, like I say many times, but it's so true. I have been on the phone, texting. And all three of us have, the entire city staff, really. We're so focused on getting things done to accommodate our citizens.
We were obviously the big part of this, and then what from the president. I mean, they just passed the economic relief package. The Senate just voted on it minutes ago to confirm that the House had voted on, and so. We were talking about that really in the city of Tehachapi, like what can we do? We don't have money to write everybody a check and send it to you like I think the federal government was toying around with. But, Greg kind of asked that question, and then I think it came in the other day, and I said, I have this crazy idea. And really it wasn't that crazy, but we basically decided to do, and we had a special meeting with the city council in order to enact this temporary policy that is going to allow businesses, because really right now there's a lot, everybody, and not just, I'm not trying to single out small businesses saying they are more important or less important than anybody, but those are the lifeblood of the economy locally and nationally, and they're unsure. The people that work there are unsure what this impact's going to be on their business. Restaurants specifically, gathering sizes change, dining rules change, and so they're trying to figure out how they can change and evolve and keep people employed. So we thought about one little thing we could do would be to potentially allow them to opt into a program where, you see it, if you have a car loan, once in a while around Christmas time, they'll send you a notice. Hey, don't pay your December payment, and we'll just tack it on to the principal. Well, that's essentially what we decided to do with this program for small business, which is allow them to defer their next couple of months worth of utility payments, which through the city is water, sewer, trash, and you pay it over 6 months. I mean, we'll get it. You'll get it to us eventually, but that couple $100 might really be a big difference for you. It's one less thing to worry about, and then we want to give them that flexibility to say, hey, you guys have a lot on your plate right now, and as Greg will talk more about, I think our water, sewer funds, our enterprise funds, they're healthy. So if they don't get all their money tomorrow, they're not going to cease operation. There's reserves there to continue to operate. Same with our general fund, which will help kind of pay the trash bill to Waste Management, because we bill and then we pay Waste Management for their service. So they're still going to get paid as normal. And our general fund, if it has to come in and subsidize a few short payments, it will. And so this was just a small thing we decided to roll out, and a few residential pieces as well, in terms of just no late fees, and then there won't be any water shutoffs until at least basically June 1st and probably beyond that.
And that's a good explanation, but if anybody needs more information, call us, email us, and that goes for our council meetings also. Whenever we're in these times where the federal government is saying 10 or less people, right? And so we still need to conduct the city business. But if you have a comment on something that you want the council to be aware of, the staff to be aware of, email it to us so that we can read that aloud, because it's important to know. We want to know what people are thinking. But and it's also worth noting, Corey alluded to this a moment ago, our reserves are very healthy at the city of Tehachapi. Whether it's our enterprise funds, which are companies that we run, the water company is a company, the sewer company is a company, The airport is a company, so on, and the general fund. And the general fund is very healthy. And that didn't come by accident. That didn't come because of me. That came about because of long-term visioning and planning, a great city council, an amazing staff, and the people that live in this great city, right? Everybody is in it for the same reason. We want to make sure that our books are healthy in case of a rainy day. And it's raining. And we need to make sure that we're spending that money in all the appropriate places for our residents.
And I think people understand we're meeting on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day, as a group from all of the departments to share the updates, the things that we're seeing, things that maybe we can improve upon, but really roundtabling the discussion and having different points of view, different sets of eyes, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, to have discussions so we can move forward in a unified front, but for the best for the city, as a whole.
Right. We're acting like it's an emergency operations center, EOC, but it's not. We haven't initiated that. That's for sure. We want calm, but we do meet, and it's important to understand and to compare notes and make certain that we continue to move in the correct direction. I know that Chief Krager, he's on a conference call with the White House, and he told me earlier Vice President Pence was on that conference call. That's pretty special, and he was getting real-time data. I'm meeting with Adventist Health twice a day, 7:30 a.m., 7:30 p.m. I've talked to Stacy at the school district every day, 3 or 4 times a day. Again, on and on and on, and it's very intentional. It's very planned. It's scheduled. I just got off the phone with Corey Torres over at the Parks District, talking about how he is helping, how his district and staff are helping us maneuver through these days. And
one thing you brought up the term key, like this kind of unity term, and or unified term, and we're trying to keep that consistent with across all government. That's why we're not putting out stuff about, you should only meet with 10 people less. The city of Tehachapi isn't putting that out. That's coming from the CDC, the President of the United States, the state of California, the governor of the state of California. There's no reason to keep throwing that same number out there. We want to, and so we try to practice what they're preaching and stay unified. That's why we decided to close some of our public facilities, or all of our public facilities basically, and operate essential staff as other people were doing, just to show that unified message. So we weren't doing one thing, and the beauty of it is we haven't necessarily. I'm going to be meeting with some restaurant owners here in the next half hour or so. Restaurants, I'll say this, our business owners have been so proactive. It's awesome to see. I mean, when the guidelines came down and some cities and counties have said they're shutting down dine-in services, that kind of stuff. Some national corporations have done that. So a few restaurants in Tehachapi don't have dining rooms now, just drive-through. But our local restaurant owners kind of made some of their own provisions, and they're going to talk more about that as a collective group today, which is awesome. You're talking about people that normally compete with each other. They're like, okay, we're going to get through this together. What are you doing? What are you doing? And we're going to offer some stuff that they can do. I mean, this plan was part of it. We're going to allow them to as well. If you've got some of the curbside parking, which is technically public parking, but if you want to use that as curbside pickup areas, we're going to let you go ahead and block that off. I mean, normally it's a public parking space. You can't do it, but we're going to say, go ahead, because we know this will help your business visibility-wise. So little things like that. And then, local community with our faith-based organizations. As a group of pastors got together the other day, and they invited us to be there too, to talk about what are the churches doing, because churches are large gatherings. Matter of fact, one of the pastors made a great point. There is no single gathering place in Tehachapi. We don't have a huge stadium, we don't have a huge concert hall, but on Sundays, collectively as a church, that's probably the largest gatherings we have. And so what are they going to do? And every church has basically decided to go in an online format and limit their gatherings and that kind of stuff. But it was a decision they kind of made as a whole, not as an edict or anything. They just said, what's best? We want to be submissive to the government, so to speak, although we're not mandating it, but they're seeing what's going on. And so it's been really cool to see the spirit of cooperation across faith, business, and it's reassuring that we don't have to necessarily tell anybody anything, because a lot of folks have figured it out on their own.
And we've had conversations with those faith-based leaders. They're talking to each other, and then they're also utilizing outside organizations, Salvation Army, and things in place for people that do need help. There's one centralized location to get it. There's also and this is about neighbors helping neighbors. this is not about government coming in and taking care of everybody. We're doing what we can, our part of it. But this is about, as a community, I know on Facebook they've got a Tehachapi humanitarian relief group that's set up to help seniors and those that maybe have pre-existing conditions that need some help with some things, that they're able to take them some supplies. So that's what we want to see, is the community coming together, helping each other. In that supportive role. So I think I've seen a lot of positive things that are transpiring, and I know that we stay in contact. We don't talk about it all the time, but we're constantly in contact with our faith base, as Greg said, our other organizations, here on the Hill and in the county in general, just so that way we're all on the same page, knowing what the things that we're seeing and how they can be addressed, and not us duplicating efforts and wasting time when someone else has already got something set up.
That's right. And we talk about self-quarantining and those sorts of things, and you need to be laser focused on the health of you and your family for sure. But now's a good time to know your neighbor, right? You need to be making sure that you know who your neighbors are, they know who you are, and what your strengths and weaknesses are. And don't just run to Walmart and buy a bunch of toilet paper. Yeah. Right? Let's fold in some common sense here. Let's take a deep breath and let's really talk about, okay, what's in front of us? What can we do working together to come out the other end of this stronger and better?
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed along Highway 58, that commerce corridor, there are 18-wheelers nonstop moving product, things, and commerce back and forth.
The supply lines are open. It's been something that I've been tracking from the federal level. Supply lines are open. They're getting here to your local level. They're getting to the local restaurants. They're getting to the stores. But to Greg's point about panic buying, that doesn't help, because then you can't get stocked up. And nobody can get the basic essentials if you're buying, 19 bottles of $1,000 dressing. I mean, you're not going to need that many for however long this is. And then again, this isn't an outbreak, so to speak. This is a kind of flattening the curve style a push to prevent it from spreading when it does come to our community. So that's really the important message to have. But you're right. I mean, if Highway 58 is just as busy with the trucks, you drive back from Bakersfield, you're still going to get cut off because but now you won't be so mad because they're moving stuff that everybody
you're going to slow down and let them pass.
You're going to wave at them
and help them go forward. That's one thing I personally noticed, is just to see the commerce is moving. Mm-hmm. And that's a key element people should be reassured when they see that.
We don't need another problem, right? We have a pandemic because of a health issue. Let's not create an economic problem. Yeah. Right? We're better than that. We're smarter than that. These small businesses in Tehachapi, small, medium, and large, for goodness sakes, they need our help. Mm. And I'm not talking about a handout. I mean, you need to go and continue your purchasing habits and do what you can, of course. Mm. But I know Jake's Steakhouse. I talked to Barbara, the owner, and she's starting a meal delivery and a meal pickup and
adding breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I mean, people need to eat, and you don't have to go there and sit in the dining room. She'll bring it to you, or you can come pick it up curbside. We need to be thinking about across the board.
Right.
And that says there at the commercial level, the restaurants, that they have their food supply, that they're able to produce meals, that there is something there. We can get our nourishment and we can take care of our mom and pops here in town. Mm-hmm. And they're reinventing themselves right now. They're figuring it out. They're listening to what's going on from the CDC.
That's exciting to see, actually. There is a silver lining here. It's exciting to see. Americans are entrepreneurs, right? And I'll say we're lazy as a society, but laziness creates, things that allow us to have an easier life, if you will.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. No one's being lazy right now, man. Everybody is hitting on all 8 cylinders, well-oiled. But we need to all work together and continue to assist each other.
Yeah, and that supply line is for the restaurants is a different supply line than it is to the grocery store. Right. So they can maybe get things you can't find at a grocery store. And when we talk with the restaurant owners today, it's going to be a lot of what they're doing in LA too. A lot of these guys are figuring out. They're doing prepackaged stuff that's not even cooked. Bread, pasta, and sauce. Here, you take it home, you cook it. But you can't get that in a store per se down in the major metropolitan areas. So, a lot of those are already happening without even our suggestion. But some of that stuff we're going to see what local restaurants might be able to do as well. And their goal is they're not trying to make money. I mean, we've talked to a few of them that say, man, I'm just trying to keep my people employed and the lights on right now. That's all I'm worried about.
Survive.
Yes. I don't want to close. I want to make sure that these people I have working, and they're going to have different job duties and whatever, they're good with it. But we're going to get through it by being creative right now and then asking the public to continue to be patrons. And you might not be eating in as much, but maybe you grab it at the curb and order online or order over the phone.
I did eat out on Friday night before the edict came out to try and just do takeout only. And I was talking with the waitress, and you could see in her eyes that she was not feeling confident in where's things going to come, because they live off of tips. So I had to make sure, we're going to get through this. And it's that reassurance of this is different, but there's some similarities to things that we've seen in our history. I mean, for me, I remember living through 9/11 and being in the public safety sector. You saw economic impact that went across the United States. This is different, but there's some similarities you can pull from.
Yeah.
It takes time to rebound, but we also have to be conscious of what's going on and how we can play our small part, because the small parts have ripple effects. And if we all take that responsibility to make sure that we're supporting our local businesses, maybe we can help them weather the storm.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, too. I mean, you look back, this is our... you look back at the history of the United States and the war efforts we've seen, and, I remember finding, I had ration books from my grandparents from World War II. You were told on certain days you can buy this certain amount of bread, and here's your coupon to do so. There was no such thing as panic buying, because you're only allowed that one loaf, and you had the one stamp in your book. Precious metals, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff today would probably be unheard of. I don't think but that was part of life, and it was just giving up some temporary comforts for the greater good. And I think that's what we're experiencing right now with some of these shutdowns and that kind of stuff. It's just giving up temporary comforts for a greater cause, which is to basically kind of beat this enemy we can't really see, but it's out there, and hopefully we can do our part to do that.
I want to circle back, because we talked about the small business aspect of what we did at the special council meeting, but there's also a residential aspect to this that I don't think we talked about, and we want to make sure that we're talking about every person that's there at home, and whether it's in their apartment or their house, their condo here in the city. We also address that to try and to add some relief, a little bit of just in this anxiety, financial anxiety, and things that are going on. If we can help you a little bit, that's one of these what this also addressed.
Yeah, a lot of that was centered around first of all, late payments. Most folks are great about paying their bills. Honestly, and there's people sometimes have challenges doing so, and there's a late fee because it just takes longer, and there's interest on all that. But anyway, there's
that's normal business.
That's normal business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and there's administrative work that goes into that, but. So those fees have been basically paused. So there'll be no late fees right now. And secondly, it was asked at the council meeting, well, why is there not a deferment plan for residential customers? Well, really, essentially there is, because there's no water shutoffs until at least June 1st. Through the month of May, there's not going to be any. If you can't pay, obviously we're encouraging you, if you can pay, please pay your utility bills. But again, if you can't pay, we're not going to be in normal procedures of door tagging and shutting down water. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep the services going to you. So it's there. It's going to take you time. And then if you need to get on a payment plan come May to pay your back bill, great, we'll set that up. So it wasn't necessary to throw it in there. It really was more of a business piece, but we wanted to extend that to residents in terms of, look, let's reassure them, we're not shutting water off, and we're not going to be charging late fees if it's, your job was affected and you're going to be, cut back a little bit. So
I think it's worth noting too that everything we're talking about here is for the city of Tehachapi.
Yeah.
Even though we care a lot about our neighbors, but if you receive your water or your utility services from Southern California Gas, Southern California Edison, a CSD, you need to talk to them about deferment. We're just talking about the water, sewer, and trash within the city limits of Tehachapi.
That's the only thing that we can control. It's the only places that we get those resources, that supply of income to pay those comes from within the city, so we can't.
Those are the utilities that we own and operate on behalf of the citizens. And the question was posed by, I think, 2 or 3 people at the council meeting. Well, how about Southern California Edison, Southern Gas? We don't control. That's a Public Utility Commission, and that's between you and them.
Yeah.
That's
So
for sure.
we looked at everything that we have control over.
Yeah, that was the basis of this. I
Right.
mean, when Greg kind of brought that question and I thought about it overnight, I mean, we're all kind of working 24 hours a day now because our brains are never shut off. And I like to drill it down to what do we control? We control water, sewer, and basically trash because we bill for it. That's where the idea sort of came from, is just going to the bare basics. What do we control? What do we have? And those were things that we have.
Right, for sure. Let's talk a little bit about Kern County, State of California, federal government. I'll start with the County of Kern. So Matt Constantine, Director of Health and Human Services, he and I talk regularly, either via text or in person. I know his plate is very, very full. I have to commend him, and he's doing a great job with the County of Kern and communicating with us. And I think there was a first case of corona yesterday or today in the County of Kern, and maybe it was a visitor. Nevertheless, I have to commend them for what they're doing. This is all new. There was no playbook for what's in front of us, right? We couldn't open a book and kind of Google it and say, what should we do? Yeah. We're creating those rules and policies and procedures together. So the County of Kern doing a great job. And then at the state of California, Governor Newsom, same thing. He's standing there and he's providing amazing leadership to the state. We have some serious problems, especially in the bigger cities. The epidemic or the pandemic is hitting them a little harder or a lot harder. And but we all share in that same concern, that same goal of coming out the other side better. But he's working with all the county administrators, all the city leaders, the League of California Cities. Yeah. I haven't mentioned that in a long time, but the League of California Cities, there are 400 some odd cities in the state of California, and we're part of that group, and they're sending out hourly briefings on updates
and asking what you're doing, to share, so everybody can share. Here's the plan we did. Right. I mean, we shared our economic development plan with them. Just say, here's what we did, and maybe you can do that too.
And maybe another city somewhere can not reinvent the wheel, and just cut and paste with our program that we implemented. So commending Newsom and the state of California. Mm-hmm. And then federal government, President Trump, Pence, I know, is taking care of this, and he's leading it. Those efforts I mentioned earlier, he's a daily briefing, a White House briefing, a conference call that Chief Krager sits in and I have. And today Pence was leading that conference call, talking about the different elements that the federal government is implementing. What are they doing to help bringing everyone together? So I'm just commending everybody. Mm-hmm. I don't care what political affiliation you're with. Everybody is just coming together so seamlessly. I'm very prideful of what's happening in the United States right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to talk about public safety here in the city of Tehachapi, because Chief Krager has put out some press releases on how our Tehachapi Police Department is moving forward, and they are still handling calls for service. They are responding. If you call, they are going to respond. They do want to know if you feel symptoms that have been talked about that relate to the coronavirus. So that way they can respond appropriately. But if you call 911, there is going to be someone that's coming and responding. And Chief Krager has been very clear about that, about maintaining public safety for this community.
It is number one priority. Absolutely.
And those guys are, I mean, they're on the front lines. I mean, police, firefighters, EMTs, that kind of stuff. So it's like their job is already difficult, but now it's even more increasingly difficult.
And again, they're creating policies and procedures now. Okay, how do we approach, and that's been in the queue for some time, right? You never know, like a domestic violence, right? You never know what you're going to come up against. But now we have the corona violence that we don't know how to deal with. But make no mistake, Tehachapi Police Department, the city of Tehachapi, across the board, everybody is employed. Everybody continues to work for the citizens. Our business moves on. We've had no hiccups, even though our front door may be locked for health and safety reasons. That doesn't mean we're not here. That doesn't mean you can't get a hold of us. that doesn't mean we're not working for you, because we are in every form and fashion.
We have staff to answer the phones at both the police department and at City Hall. We have, we've also got online reporting for non-emergent police issues, so you may be able to take care of your whatever your incident is via online reporting. That's available on the website.
And even on the website too, reporting concerns necessarily, because we still have, our public works crews still out, our roads crews are still out, they're still doing their job. So if you've, we have that report a concern link on our website at liveuptehachapi.com. You can report a pothole, street light outage, that kind of stuff that is still important in this time. So that's available online as well. And then we do have our COVID-19 response page and banner at the very top of the website with details about our closures, who to contact if you're trying to get a building permit, and we're just kind of changing the way we do business, but business continues. So check out those resources, because those are kind of how to get things done still.
We want everyone to be safe. We want you to be confident that the City of Tehachapi government is here handling the things that we need to handle. Your trash is being picked up. Your water is flowing out of your taps. You don't have to hoard water because the water is flowing. The sewer is working fine. Don't flush the disposable wipes so you don't gum up the system.
And I think we put something out on social media and our website about that too. They're not flushables.
And
They're just not.
And back to the water. I mean, why would you go to the store and buy water that was pulled out of an urban well and reverse osmosis when you're getting much better stuff out of the tap in the city?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the water we have is better, and so it's going to stay on.
Right.
So we definitely want to reassure you that the things that we're able to do, we're in control of, we're taking care of. We want to send you that reassurance. And if you've got a question, we're here to take it.
Yeah.
Whether it's something that we can talk about here on the podcast, that's media at TehachapiCityHall.com, or all of us, Greg Garrett, Corey Costelloe, Key Budge, myself, we all have our emails are on the website, and you can send an email to any one of us, or as Corey mentioned, the different departments that are listed on our special page that we've got on the homepage. So we can answer those questions, or call City Hall. We've got people here answering the phones. So even though...
Be calm and be part of the solution. You know, when I think about Stacy Larson Everson, our school superintendent, she's got an enormous job ahead of her. I mean, several thousand students are sent home.
What a first year she's had, by the way.
Oh, goodness.
PSPS
So,
and this.
Help her.
And
Think about her. Pray for her. Think about her. Be part of her solution. Right? Where do you go from here when you have all these kids that were sent home?
Yeah.
All the way from K to 12, and then Jeff Lingerfeld over the hospital. He stayed the night at the hospital. He didn't even leave, and he's done that over and over, and because he wants to make sure that his staff has everything that they need to be able to care for this community. Mm-hmm. Everyone needs to really just a giant team up. Yeah. Right? Let's team up. And Tehachapi team up.
Greg just created a new.
I don't want to get too serious.
I don't know.
But seriously, let's team up and let's get this going.
Yeah.
Because this is serious business.
We are a community.
And together we will beat it.
Yes, absolutely. We'll go ahead and start to close things down. We're going to try and get some interviews over at the next meeting later today. So I'm going to say we're ending it now, but if we cut back with some interviews, this is a kind of a different podcast, a different format. We're trying to get it out to you as quickly as possible. So understand that if we're able to get an interview, you'll hear it in a few seconds. If not, we thank you for joining us, and we'll try and keep you updated right here on TehachaPod, media at Tehachapi City Hall. Call us at 661-822-2200, and we are here to answer questions and just make sure you know that we've got your back. We're all in this together.
Be safe, Tehachapi.
Yeah. Thank you.
TehachaPod is a conversation about Tehachapi designed for the people who live here or who would like to know more about this mountaintop community. If you have a question you would like answered, email media at TehachapiCityHall.com. We will try to answer it on a future episode of TehachaPod.